Today we're going to master simple time rhythms in pipe music. Stay tuned. Well, hello everybody, I'm Willis Bagpiper, and on this channel I make videos to make you a stronger and more confident bagpiper. If you like this kind of content, please like the video, subscribe below, share with any pipers you might know. And I also give Skype lessons if you want more personalized instruction, but more on that later. There are free PDF downloads of all the material we're going over today, so go ahead, download these, print them out, put them on a tablet so you can follow along. Rhythm. It's one of the two tools we have to make music on the bagpipe. Now, most melodic instruments that can play just one note at a time, like say a trumpet or a clarinet, similar instruments like that, there's normally 4 tools at your disposal. They can change pitch, which is how high or low the tone coming out of the instrument is at any given time. For us, we use our fingers. For trumpet and other instruments, you might use the buzzing of your lips and valves, but it's how high or low the note is. The second tool is rhythm, how long and short a given pitch is relative to a beat. And then on other instruments, you can also pause or rest to either separate notes or to create some space between phrases and passages. On the pipes, we can't do that. While we can stop the sound on a practice chanter, we cannot stop the sound on a bagpipe. And number 4, you can give it more emphasis or dynamics. You can make a note louder or quieter. And on the pipes, we can't do that. We use grace notes, embellishments, and timing, really having a command of our rhythm to hold the note longer and give it a sense of importance or loudness when we actually can't change the volume. Given that we only have 2 tools on the bagpipe, changing pitch and changing rhythm, it's very important that we have control or even mastery over those 2 things. So today in this exercise, we're going to go over the basic rhythms of simple time. And this is subdividing the beat into 2. We're going to do it evenly or round, where there's even eighth notes. We're going to do it pointed, where the first note is long and the second note is short, so you have a dotted eighth to a 16th, 3/4 of a beat to 1/4 of the beat. And then we'll finally do snapped, which is the inversion of that, where we start with the short note. We go with 1/4 of the beat to 3/4 of the beat. And we'll go over all of these, and we'll be using the basic tune, High Road to Gairloch. Now this is a simplified version. There are no grace notes in here. I want my students to have control of their rhythm and being able to play with a metronome strongly and solidly before we introduce grace notes. For everything we're doing today, we're going to be using a metronome. Now here I have the Tempo app by Frozen Ape. It's a great metronome, but there are a ton of metronomes out there. They all do the job. You want to just be able to keep a good, solid, steady beat, and you don't want to be doing that with just your foot. Now, I do recommend you learn to tap your foot along with the metronome, but for today and for the exercises we're doing, we need an external source of time to make sure that we're staying good, strong, and steady. I have the metronome set at 52. It's nice and slow. That's not even a beat per minute, because as we play through the High Road to Gairloch round, we want to be able to subdivide this, and I don't want it to be too quick. And what do I mean by subdivide? We're going to be playing notes that take less than a beat. In this round or even version, all of the eighth notes in this tune are exactly 50% of the beat and 50% of the beat. There are also quarter notes in this, and the quarter notes are given one full beat. Let's go ahead and give this a go. So as you can hear, each of the eighths takes up 50% of the beat. We want to make sure we do our note changes strongly on either the down, which is when we hear the click, or the up, which is that exact 50% point. Now, many metronomes out there let you subdivide the beat, so you can actually hear both the down when your foot would be down and the up when your foot would be at that exactly 50% position. Now on this metronome, we can hit this button down here, and as you can see, it brings up a menu of what you're going to hear. Now, right now it's set up to play just the quarter note beat, but you can see you can have it so it can play the 2 eighth notes, 3 triplets, all sorts of different rhythms. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the 2, as you see now, it's got the 2 eighth notes highlighted. So now we're going to hear the down and the up. If your metronome doesn't do this, or you don't want to worry about it, you can also get this exact same effect by just doubling the time. We're at 52. If you put this at 104, it'll do the exact same job of letting you hear both the down and the up. And this can go a long way to making sure that you're hitting those notes nice and evenly. So we're going to do that exact same exercise, but now we're going to do it with both the beat and the subdivided beat emphasized. So again, we're going to hear that 50% mark between the downbeats. So that's High Road to Gairloch played evenly at 52. If that still seems fast and you're not able to keep up, that is totally fine. Go ahead and bring the metronome down to whatever speed you need to play it at until you can command this tune with the note changes on each one of these subdivided clicks evenly, cleanly, no runs, fuzziness, nice strong rhythm, because this is really building a whole new skill set for you that's going to help you get the kind of pipe music out of your instrument that I know you're looking for. Once you find a tempo where you can play this good, clean, and even, the next step to commanding and mastering your basic simple time rhythms is to point it. And what do I mean by point? Point is where, when we take the two subdivided notes, they're no longer evenly subdivided. The first note of the pair is a dotted note, and the dot means you give it 50% more. The next note, and if you look at the music, you can see it, is now a 16th note, and that is half the length of an 8th note. So we end up having 3/4 of a beat to 1/4 of the beat. I'm going to play this pointed, but I'm going to turn the subdividing off as I play this first part. I want you to hear how the first subdivided note is longer than the second one. We'll go back and add the subdivision later and talk about how to do that, but I want you to be able to hear how this sounds when it's pointed. So there you could hear the first note was nice and kind of pushed, if you would. It's longer, second note is shorter. So we went from bum, 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 bum to bum, ba, bum, ba, bum. Very different feel. Both are important in making the music. We're now going to add the subdividing back in. So I'm going to go ahead. For me, I'm just going to change that one setting there. For you, if you need to double the metronome, go ahead and do that, whatever you need to do in your world. So now you're going to hear the downbeat and you're going to hear the next click, because remember, that click is the 50% mark. That's when you're halfway through the beat, and yet we're holding that first note 75% of the beat. So what's that mean? You're actually going to hear this click while you're holding that first note, and you don't want to change to the second note in each one of these pairs until you've already heard that click. Bum, ba bum, ba bum, ba bum. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum. You can hear I'm pointing at that because you're hearing that, and yet I'm holding that note across that beat. Let's go ahead and play along with that and see how it sounds. And because this is complicated and perhaps hard to hear, and a lot of you guys are just kind of approaching rhythm for the first time, I'm going to go ahead and slow this metronome down for right now to 40. So you can really have a better chance of hearing that click happening while I'm holding that note. And just like that, I think you can hear how long that first note is, really pushing it past that upbeat and into the next half of the beat so that you can hold it for the 75%, give that other 25% to the 16th note. We're going to play the entirety of High Road to Gairloch one more time, pointed. I'm going to keep the metronome set at 40. We'll see how this goes. Notice I played the repeats. You're going to perform this the way you practice it. If there's repeats written in the music, I implore you, play the repeats as you practice the music, or when you go to actually play it for other people, and this will get built into a full-on great pipe tune. You're not going to play the repeats, and you're going to be playing a 20-second tune. Play the repeats. Before we moved on to snapped rhythms, I want to point out that the feel of a pointed rhythm is quite different. And one of the reasons for that is that what we're visually seeing in the music is not quite matching what we're hearing. And what I mean by that is we have these beams showing the E and the F, one beam. Then you have the E to the low A, another beam. And yet that's not quite what we're hearing. We're hearing E, F, E, A, C. It's kind of this staggered kind of feel. That first E is kind of by itself. And the next short F to the next E, it's kind of like a pickup note to the next long note. E, F, E, A, C, A, E. And that can be rather confusing to look at something and see one grouping of notes, and yet what you're hearing is a different grouping of notes. So again, the F to the E, that second to third note, they're more related than that E is to the F. That E, nice long note by itself. F to E, that's its own idea. It's its own little musical bit. E, F, E, A, C, A, E. And if you start thinking about it like that, it can make a lot more sense. You might even want to put like visual lines or marks on the music that break that up on your pointed exercise here. So after that E, you might want to put a pencil mark line to distinguish that as its own idea, then F, E as its own idea. So in this case, it's like a short note going to a long note. That's going to be each kind of musical idea, if you will. And talking about that, if we look at that third line, the beginning of the second part of this tune, it's a nice long C to a nice long A. Now that A isn't as long as the C. The C is a full beat. The A is 3/4 of a beat. But both of those are ideas by themselves. So it'd be like C, A, B, C, A, C. So I just wanted to kind of point that out because it's the one place in the tune where we start with a quarter note, but it's an idea by itself, and the very next note is an idea by itself. So the beams distinguish where the actual beats are in the music, and that is very useful to know, but it doesn't necessarily give you a sense of where the pulse or feel of the rhythm is. In this case, there's a lot of against the beat, kind of at 3/4 of the beat in is where the next idea happens. Bum, ba bum, ba-bum, ba-bum, with those snaps being the beat, but each idea is starting right before it. Bum, ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. If you're having problems wrapping your fingers around any of this, I implore you, go ahead like I'm doing right now and sing along with me as I play these exercises. Figure out how to make the rhythm of your voice. The pitch doesn't matter nearly so much right now. Try to make the rhythm of your voice match the rhythm of my playing. That'll go a long way to getting your fingers to do it. Because if you can't sing it, you can't play it. The third part of mastering the basic simple time rhythms is the snapped rhythm, a particularly Scottish feeling rhythm where the first note is short and the second note is long. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. I want to point out that in this case, each snapped rhythm is starting with the short note, going to a long note within the beat. So unlike the pointed rhythms, the beaming on this one, again, and the beams are those bars on the bottom showing the eighth notes, kind of their tails coming together, if you will. Those are showing where the beats are actually happening, but in a snapped rhythm, it also happens to be where each musical idea is. This one may be a little bit more congruent with what you're visually seeing, but it's tough to start on a short note. Most people want to be able to get to the beat and take some time to think about what they're going to do with their fingers. On a snapped rhythm, that's really tough because the first note on the beat is short. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. We're going to take that subdividing off, go back to just the beat. I've put this back at 52. I want you to hear how the first note is short and the second note is long, but the only clicking and beats you're going to hear are the actual downbeats themselves. We'll subdivide it here in just a moment. In our basic beginning marches, this doesn't happen very often. Brown-Haired Maiden is a tune where this snapped rhythm shows up. In more advanced 2/4 marches and in Strasbays and a lot of other tunes, this gets to be much more common. But it's important that we get good rhythmic control of our fingers now so that when we get to those kind of tunes, we're ready to play them. There's also an added benefit. Once you've done a even rhythm, and then a pointed rhythm, and then a snapped rhythm, you've made every note change in the melody you're playing at 3 different speeds, if you will. Once you've played a pointed rhythm, you've learned how to go from the second subdivided note, in that case a 16th note, to the downbeat of the next one quickly. And then in a snapped rhythm, it's the reverse. You've learned how to go from the short first note to the long second note. By doing that, you've learned how to make each note change much more quickly than when we were just doing them all evenly. It often means that you can almost immediately bump that metronome up, play it even again at a much faster speed because you've already kind of sorted out in your brain how to move your fingers around these at different speeds because of the different rhythmic patterns we've been doing. So once you can play round, pointed, and snapped all at a given tempo, before you're done with that practice session, I would go ahead up that metronome, maybe by 5, 10, 15, up it by more than you think you can, play along with it and see if maybe, just maybe, you can play it evenly and well at a much faster speed than you came into when you started. The whole idea is to be able to ramp these up to full speed. Right now we're at 52. I'm about to play it at 40. High Road to Gairloch, we want to be playing anywhere from 84 to 92. It's a nice, good, solid march you want to be able to move your guys down the street with, not just kind of slowly stroll. But don't rush into getting it faster. We need to have the rhythm strong, good, clean, note changes that aren't messy. There's a lot of things to get under control before we introduce grace notes or really try to up the tempo. I'm going to play the entirety now of High Road to Gairloch with a snapped rhythm at 40 beats per minute with the subdividing back on. So what you're going to hear that downbeat come down, and then I'm going to move to the next note before the next subdivided beat. Before the next click of that metronome happens, I'm going to be up to the next beat, and I'm going to hold it over and across, because now we go 25% to 75%. I'm also going to play all the repeats. Let's do this. Had a little burble there on one of the notes. It's kind of an awkward angle. I want you to be able to see my fingers while I'm playing, but that's certainly not the normal angle you'd be playing a practice chanter. So that snapped rhythm really gives a very different feel to the music, but kind of more Scottish, if you will. It's a rhythm you don't hear a lot in most modern pop and Western music, though it's getting a little bit more common, often called a Scotch snap in traditional music theory. We tend to call it just snapped, if we call it anything at all. I want to point out on that third line how this is different than it was in the pointed version. In line 3 of this, now we have bum, bottom, bottom, starting with that nice long note, and then we go to a short long. So rather than having bum, bo, ba bum, now we have bum, bottom, bottom. So by changing from pointed to snapped, we've really changed where the emphasis is falling in the rhythm of the tune. And that's what's so powerful. You're typically not going to find a march that has one type of rhythm through the entire thing. Normally there's passages of even, there's passages of pointed, maybe a few passages of snapped, which is a little caliente. It's a little spicier than the others, so you don't tend to find it quite like this. Super useful to practice. Not going to find it in the wild too much like this. Once you feel you're starting to get a good, solid control of what we're doing here, you can maybe make a fresh printout of that first page and start marking up pointing and snapping in various patterns. You can write them in, you can just look at it and just kind of guess where you want to do it and mix them up. Start trying to like ebb and flow that push-pull of round from pointed to even. I'll kind of give an example. We'll go back up to 52. And there was really no rhyme or reason which ones I was going round on, which one I was snapping, which ones I was pointing. Just kind of mixing it up and just doing my best to stay on the beat. And that's tough. You got to kind of really get control of how the rhythm, how the tempo, how all of this is going through you. We only have 2 tools at our disposal when we're making music on, be it a practice chanter or even better, the full pipes. We can change the note or the pitch, and we can change the rhythm. So we need to make sure that our rhythmic control is just as strong as the ability to change notes. I know pipers that will play scales all day long, but they won't do it with a metronome, and they have a very hard time altering the rhythm from what might be written on the paper. We should be able to take any of our melodies and really mix them up. We want to be able to have a lot of control under our fingers, and the more control you have, the more powerful, rich all of the music's going to be, and I think the more fun you're going to have playing it. You're not limited to this idea with just this. If you're already on more advanced tunes that have grace notes, embellishments, and you want to improve your rhythmic accuracy, take this same idea and apply it to a Green Hills of Tyrol instead. Something like that. Sounds crazy, I know, but when you can play your various tunes in various rhythms, it's enormous. And like advanced tunes say Little Cascade, I've probably heard that pointed snapped in 3 or 4 different ways by the world's best players. So with some of the more advanced tunes that we all hope to get to, there's not even necessarily one right way to play it, and being able to control your rhythm is going to give you options that you otherwise wouldn't have. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you got something out of this video today, go ahead, give the video a thumbs up if you could. Think about subscribing to the channel, hitting that bell icon for notifications, all of that kind of stuff. It goes a long way to helping support the channel. For those that want to go the extra mile, go ahead and head over to my Patreon, where as little as $1 a month can go a huge way to helping support the channel. It's completely voluntary. You can cancel at any time, but that kind of support goes a long way to help, well, fund the kind of projects I'm doing here. If you want more personalized instruction, I also give Skype lessons. Go ahead and head over to www.mattpiper.com or email me at the address that's written right there, and we'll get you going. Well, thanks again, everybody. I'm Matt Willis Bagpiper, and until next time, cheers.